This week on Low Earth Orbit, we review the iPad game The Room. So this is not a new game. It came out in 2012, but the reason it showed up on our radar was that just a few months ago, the sequel came out, The Room 2, and to great critical acclaim. And the previous game, The Room, also was a big hit and won a raft of awards in 2012. And it seemed like something that would be kind of up our alley. So we checked it out, and the basic idea for this game, which is by a UK studio called Fireproof Games, and the basic mechanic is that you're in this room with this, and there's like a table in the room, and there's this sort of interesting puzzle on the table that you kind of you can, as you figure it out, you sort of get more little pieces of the story, like you find little notes and photographs and things that sort of advance the plot, and then as you sort of work through these puzzles, you move on to additional levels that bring more puzzles and then more of the plot. And so you kind of you basically have these 3D objects on your iPad that you manipulate to sort of work through the puzzles, and that kind of covers the basic game mechanics. So Justin, what do you think?
So I didn't know a whole lot about these games. I'd sort of seen the descriptions of them online, but hadn't really looked into them a whole lot. And the impression I got, it was kind of Myst-like, I guess, in the way that there's these puzzles and the story is a bit sketchy, and it seems like as you progress through the game, it'll reveal more and more of like why all this is happening at all. And so I actually played it on my iPhone, and as I was going through it, I was mostly cool with it, but there were some things that I found kind of frustrating about the game. Overall, I think the atmosphere is really cool. Yeah. I think the graphics are good. I think the sound is actually kind of cool too. But my problems with this, and actually a lot of games sort of in this genre, and I think Myst is maybe guilty of this to a degree, is that the puzzles are really hard, and they're hard because it's unclear like what you're supposed to be interacting with.
It's true.
And it's also, especially in this case, it's unclear like what mode of interaction you should be using with the game.
So there's one in particular that I want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Should we say that for the spoilers break or not? I don't think it's that spoilers.
Well, are you talking about the tilting?
Yeah, the tilting. Oh my gosh. So hard to figure out.
That was insane.
So bad. Like, it's not clear. I had to use little hints up in the corner.
I had to as well. Like, you tap and something is happening. You're like, I need to tap more or not.
I did it. I actually did it fully by accident. I was like, what is going on? I got frustrated. I was like rearranging myself. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, when you move, but it's just there's nothing really to indicate that that's the case.
Yeah.
That's really frustrating. And there was another part where you actually have to use more than one finger. You have to use like 2 fingers, which is cool. I mean, games that take advantage of that can be really interesting. But there was a part where it's like, not only do you have to recognize that this thing on the screen is interactive, which is not obvious, you also have to like slide it up and push something underneath. And
I know what you're talking about.
I had to Google it. I had to look it up. I was going to be stuck on
I had to use the hints for that one. Yeah.
Even the hints didn't help me with that
really?
one. The hints were like not descriptive at all.
The hints are pretty conservative. Yeah.
I knew exactly what I needed to do. I just couldn't figure out how to get to the thing. You know? And it's like, you got to do these 2 things at the same time. Which was not clear.
There's a number of places, particularly there's one with the gears, where like sometimes like you like tap them to like remove them, and they would just not remove, and I had to like just like tap that hundreds of times.
The gears were
like
insane.
And I feel like the gestures just overall were like really confusing and like unintuitive. Like double tap to zoom in, but then like pinch to zoom out.
Yeah.
And sometimes pinch to zoom in, but like most times it would not work.
Yeah.
And I thought was really frustrating.
Yeah. So those kinds of inconsistencies and sort of the unclearness of what I'm supposed to be doing kind of really pulled me out of the game. Overall, I think it's got a cool thing going on, but it is sometimes frustrating to play.
Yeah.
So that's what I got.
What do you think, Scott?
I thought it was pretty cool. I think I liked it a little bit more than you. A lot of the same complaints, absolutely. Yeah, I can't tell you the number of times I was sitting there thinking to myself, it's like staring at this box. I'm like, can I move the little dial? Nope, can't move that thing. Can I twist the screw? Nope, can't twist the screw. And then I hit the hint, and it's like, oh well, did you notice that one of the leg pegs is off a little bit? And it was like, oh yeah, but I tried to push it and nothing happened. But then I tried it again because it told me to do it, and then I could figure it out. So there was a lot of stuff like that, and you just have to. I mean, it is one of the most frustrating interactions you can have in a game is like when you're doing something that you know should work, but it won't react. And it's because you just haven't used enough velocity or exactly the right little minimal target or whatever. So there's a lot of that. And it is kind of frustrating because it's sort of like, as the game progresses, you just don't know, is this not working because it doesn't work? Or is it because I'm just not doing exactly the right way? So there's like 20% failure rate on the interactions. But that said, the 80% of the time that it does work, it's really cool. I mean, I really like the sound design is a really good point because it really helps sell this sort of immersive environment.
Did you use it with headphones or
I
anything?
did, yeah. And I think it makes a huge difference.
Because some of the reviews mentioned the sound design, and then I read after I played it, and I was like, wow, I did not have that experience at all. And I guess maybe
you didn't play with headphones? Or
no.
Did you? Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually have, what do you call it? The in-ear headphones, which actually makes a big difference. If you played it, you should definitely play it with something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so like if you sort of look past sort of the flaws and whatever, the core of it is super cool. I mean, I think the concept, I love the concept of like you've got this puzzle box, kind of like Monument Valley, where my favorite level in that whole game was the puzzle box level. And this is sort of that same idea, but just, you know, a full game just of that. Obviously the art direction, whatever, is different. But I mean, the core of it is really cool. It's like you're breaking into this box and these little things you got to pull this and push that, and then it opens up and something new happens. And I love that. And I love the atmosphere. It does this kind of creepy thing really well. And the further you get through the story, you kind of get more insight into like what this sort of null element is. And it does it in a pretty kind of creepy, interesting way. So overall, I like it. I mean, I think I would recommend it. You just have to temper your recommendation with, there might be some frustration trying to figure out what to do. But I had a lot of fun playing it.
Well, yeah, I had a lot of similar sort of interactions as you guys did. I think I was less positive than both of either of you guys. I mean, I came in like Justin with sort of this expectations of something Myst-like, and I felt like it had more of the parts of Myst I didn't care for, and less of the parts that I liked. Like I really loved the world of Myst and the sort of that whole like what happened to all these people, where are they, why are they gone? Like there's the clues that you find, and there's this beautiful and strange worlds that and the whole Myst series is like this, although it gets it goes downhill over time, but like, like particularly, Myst and Riven, the sequel to Myst.
Yeah.
Just have like, I mean, just nothing else. You can just go through these, majestic, worlds and like really strange cultures, and like and the puzzles there feel less like they're like puzzles and more like this is just like this, this world that people abandoned, and you're just reverse engineering their civilization. Like, this is just the strange way that they decided to build their control power for their power plant.
Right. And
that's just how it is, and I can kind of buy that. Versus here, like with this like box, it's like, well, no one would ever build a box like this unless they were specifically trying to create this like really crazy puzzle to make someone, like have to figure out,
I think that's the idea, though, isn't it?
No, it is, and so.
But even that's like contrived, right?
Yeah, it's so like, contrived. Like, why would anyone ever create this puzzle box with like these crazy clues? It's like he built a box and you're just reverse engineering his box, but it's a perfectly sane box. This is an insane box. Like, and it's designed to have to be like really like hard to figure out. I mean, it's not super hard, but it's like, I mean, it's just it's like there's like a part of a puzzle will be inscribed on this corner. Why? Why is it inscribed in this corner? Like like
why is it possible to open it all?
Yeah. Why just have a key?
Why do we even have that letter? Ever Soup Group joke. Sorry. The cut to a screenshot.
That'd be great. So yeah, I mean, I maybe haven't got far enough along in the story to understand like why this crazy box exists at all, and like why someone would go to all this like extraordinary effort to make a box that's just really hard to open. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so like it's just one step beyond like I can really like beyond where I can suspend my disbelief, and so it's okay. It's like, well, okay, it's about a puzzle, opening this box. That's the game. That's fine. It's not as like that alone is not really my thing. Like, I like the little bits of story we get on like the photo, like the photographs and the little clues, but there's so much other crap in between. Just so much like tapping and swiping and staring at this box to get to those like little things. and like I don't know, I always hate these like the whole world. Like, the interactions feel so contrived. Like, oh, you can open this door, but you can't close it again because you don't need to close it again, so it doesn't close. Like,
actually, well, I think that's a good thing because then you could waste a lot of time sort of mucking with things.
I know, but I like it when games like feel like the world feel more real. You can close the door again or whatever. Like I like like it's like, okay, I've done what I need to do here, and like you can double tap in areas and zoom into them if there's anything interesting there. But if it's not, you can't zoom in there. Like no, I wish I could be like it was like fully interactive. Like look at any part I want. Yeah, like, it was like a real thing. Like it feels like there's too much hand holding.
Yeah.
Like you're tapping something, there'll be a little thought bubble. Like, oh, I should focus on the sides first.
Yeah.
How did I know that? Like, I was at the top right now. Like, isn't I me? And shouldn't like I be allowed to look at what I look at? You know, it's like how do I know that I should focus on the sides first? You know, like
you should play more open world video games. They have all kinds of thoughts about that. It's like, well, it's nighttime, so I probably shouldn't go there right now. But I mean, I think they're just trying to like make it more accessible so that you don't get too.
I mean, I definitely appreciate that level of hand-holding because
I do too.
Everything still worked after I was done with it. I would spend forever going down rat holes, like trying to figure out, like, oh, what if I go back to this place where I was and I think there was a thing. What if I pick up the dice off the table and then I'll be able to take it back to the mind?
Just for example.
As an example, right? Like, so I definitely appreciate, you know, that it fences it off once you're done. You're like, nope, you're done with that area. Now it's time to focus on this area.
That's sort of a classic, for whatever it's worth. That's a classic sort of Zelda game mechanic where you have these pretty elaborate puzzles over the course of the series. And the only way they make it manageable is once you've kind of gone through the gate of you've done it correctly, they do not let you go back just so that you don't spend eternity trying to figure out, is it like that thing I left in the other room that I'm not supposed to bring into this room? I know what you're saying. I'm just saying.
I get that too, but I mean, like the Myst series manages to do that without those hints.
Yeah.
You know, and just there is a lot of going back to this something that's a total dead end, you know, and.
But do you think that would succeed as sort of like a mainstream game today, as the original was?
Like Myst?
Yeah. Because I think it wouldn't. I think it would be too dense.
Really? I mean, you guys know more about mainstream games than I do these days.
I don't know. I was thinking about that just earlier today. I was like, actually, if you were to like re-release Myst like today with no context around it, would it be as successful?
I think people would. I could see the App Store because
it'd be tough.
This totally doesn't make sense. Yeah,
it would be tough. I mean, tactical limitations aside, you know, it'd be a tough sell because it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's really quiet. There's a lot of like just futzing around with mechanical things. And you don't really know what you're hoping to get. I felt
so much more satisfied when I figured out like puzzles on Myst than
totally,
I found Like this is just like, I mean, I don't know. It just felt like junk food. Like, oh, I keep going to the next thing. There was a tiny bit of a high and then not the next thing. There was no like, I got done with a level. I didn't feel very satisfied. You know, I was like, oh, now it's another level. Okay.
So it wasn't enough that you get the little pieces of paper and stuff.
But
you wanted more than that.
Yeah, I wanted more than that. I wanted more of this world. Like I'm intrigued by the world, you know.
But it's pretty cool.
But I just feel like it's such a plodding experience to get to that next scrap of story that I don't know that I'm gonna finish it, you know.
By the way, I like that they kind of chose like a I don't know, early 1900s. Is that what the time period?
Yeah, what time period are we supposed to believe?
It feels
like late 1800s.
But I'm not sure what.
They've got the top hats and stuff. So I think it's an interesting choice. It's sort of like BioShock Infinite time period. Mostly, maybe a little earlier.
Yeah, I really do like that aspect of it. I wish there was more of that, like more of this historical context. You know, like if you could leave the room and see something else, like that would be great.
But that'd be called the other rooms.
So yeah.
So you really just want Myst. Whatever the new Abduction? Is that the one?
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Back that one?
Oh no, that was already over. I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think we both did that. That could be interesting. It's going to be a while. It's going to be next? It's 2015, like September or October.
Yeah, I haven't followed all the updates. There's so many updates for like the Kickstarter. Like it's like update 172. It's like, after a while I stopped reading the updates, but yeah, it's still a ways off.
So how would you compare this to Monument Valley for you? Because you were the one I think that was most sort of unsure about your experience in Monument Valley.
Monument Valley I played all the way through.
Yeah.
And Monument Valley had going for it like, I think what it had going for it was that it was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
That delight for like the beautiful worlds themselves was enough to keep me going. You know, even though when the story was kind of thin and the puzzles were less engaging for me. Versus here, like the aesthetic is kind of cool, but it's not even the same ballpark as Monument Valley for me.
Well, it's doing a different thing
and
artistically.
I feel like the pace in Monument Valley was better. Like I thought I could click through those levels, and I'm making progress. I'm like, and here it's like, also I kind of knew because of all of the sort of pre-release hype for Monument Valley that it's not that long of a game. It's only a certain number of hours you're gonna play, and I played it for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it was, and then got through. Versus like I was like I could probably look to see how long this is going to be, but I have this feeling it's going to take a really long time, like way more than 2 hours for me to get through this entire game. And I just for the pace of like the story, I feel like I can't really imagine spending that much time in this game.
Yeah, when I unlocked the first box, I was positive by the time I was like on the last bit of that puzzle, like that was the end of the game.
Oh really?
I thought it was, really? And then I was like, oh, there's more, because I had spent like 2.5 hours like going through that box and everything, and I was surprised. It was like, oh, there's another box, which is cool. I mean, because there's more content, but it kind of set expectations weird. Like it wasn't You know, with Monument Valley, you finish a level in like 15 minutes,
Yeah.
and you expect keep going. But the box took, I don't know how long did it take you guys to finish the first level? Like more than an hour?
I don't think more than an hour.
Yeah, I would say, well, maybe an hour and a half.
Okay,
I don't
that's probably
recall
closer.
exactly.
Yeah, that's probably closer to mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that from looking at the table of contents of the walkthrough that I eventually had to look at, I think there's like 5 or 6 chapters where each chapter is like one box.
It's pretty long.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a bit longer than Monument Valley.
Yeah, I just don't know that I would have the patience for all that.
Yeah.
So I would wholeheartedly recommend Monument Valley just about anybody. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, probably a lot of people really like this game, but
Yeah.
like I personally have a hard time recommending it. Like, it just doesn't feel like it. I don't know, maybe we reviewed so many other more awesome games recently that it's disappointing in comparison.
So
But-
how would you? I mean, just for my own personal curiosity.
Yeah.
So like, do you like? How does this like with Monument Valley? So you like Monument Valley better?
yeah
Did you like Hitman Go better than this even?
yeah
Okay. All right.
yeah. I think Hitman Go again, the pace was better. Like I think you could get through levels quickly, more quickly, and they were adding new mechanics in decent enough pace. And it feels like the levels here seem. I haven't yet aside from like the tilting thing, which happens in the first first chapter, it doesn't look like they're really adding any new mechanics or anything that
Not really. You just use the the lens.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but it's weird because it's like when you're exhausted all the other options.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's strange. It's like, it's not clear when you can and can't use it. I mean, there's at least one sort of gimmick, which is sort of like that rainbow sheen you see on things sometimes, which is sometimes like a giveaway. But there's other times where you look at something and it's not at all obvious that you should use it. And you're like, I guess I'll use the thing. Yeah.
So you liked it? I think I agree. I think I liked Hitman Go better than this. But I still like this quite a bit. I mean, because like when you're like really in it, when you've got like all the sound stuff, and maybe playing headphones actually would make a pretty big difference because that immersion was part of the experience for me. I was like the longer I played, like the more kind of creeped out I was about the whole thing, and like
that's cool. And I remember like being really creeped out by the sound design in like Riven, for example. And I didn't have that experience at all here. And that also, I think I remember that now, so it was that impressive. So I can see how that could really elevate the experience.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, like right now I'm kind of like, I don't know, like I wouldn't even say that I liked the game.
Really?
I would say that like, I don't think I really wasted an hour and a half, but I feel like, I don't want any more.
Okay. So you don't want to try the sequel then? You wouldn't try the sequel?
I mean, maybe I'll try this next level with the sound, just see if that makes a difference and see how that, what that would,
report
change my
back.
opinion. Yeah. But like, right now I'm not really feeling terribly excited about the project of a sequel. I don't know. What about you, Justin?
About whether I'm going to play it or whether I'd be interested in playing the sequel? No, I want to finish it. I mean, I feel like I'm just curious to see where the plot kind of goes. And I think the puzzles can be fun when they're not, frustrating in their,
tilted.
Yeah. So I'll keep playing for a while, and I don't know. We'll see. I think the sequel will probably be more the same, is my suspicion. I suspect they probably aren't going to change the mechanic too much for the sequel.
I wonder if they sort of fix some of the interaction issues, though.
Oh, and they very well may
hope
have.
so.
Yeah. I mean, just bugs. I'm sure they will have gotten rid of some of those. I don't know. I would say that, like, if you've seen the game and you're thinking to yourself, oh, that's cool, it'll be like Mr. Ribbon. Stop.
Go play Mr. Ribbon.
Go play Mr. Ribbon instead. Those are also available for iOS. Just get those
That's
instead,
true, yes.
and you will have a much better time. But if you just want, a puzzle game in sort of the creepy environment that isn't that sort of thing exactly, then this could probably be pretty cool.
You can't. I should say the difference between this and maybe some of the other games we talked about is it is pretty easy to just like play for a few minutes at a time.
This is true.
Because you can do one part of a puzzle and then stop. And I don't.
I didn't
really do
it for
that
like
in
an hour and a
Hitman.
half. Right? I didn't play this game for like just straight for that hour and a half that I for the first one. I kind of did 30 minutes and 30 minutes and 5 minutes.
So I would. I mean, I think probably the most positive one here. The interactions are frustrating, but when it works, it really works, and I like that.
So I think our overall recommendation is positive, but not effusive.
Yep. I'd love to see that scale. Effusive.
I want to see like this chart show up behind us, here.
Did you ever play in the earlier SimCities? Like they would rate the quality of the land, and one of the ratings for the land was like shoddy.
Shoddy?
So bizarre. It's like we should have shoddy up to effusive. And then,
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway.
So So if this sounds like your kind of game and you're not thinking that it's
Do you like
Mr.
puzzles?
Ribbon?
Do you like puzzles in rooms? Well, we got the game for you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Thanks for listening. You can send your feedback to us at feedback@loworthorbit.fm. You can follow us on Twitter at loworthshow. And you can find the show notes at our website, loworthorbit.fm.
We have a YouTube page.
And our YouTube page that I always forget to mention.
At youtube.com/loworthshow. And the latest number on subscribers is 18. So we are almost at 20. So we can get 2 people to go past the 20 mark. That'd be really exciting. But yeah, our Monument Valley interview is incredibly popular.
You were just talking about that before we recorded.
Yeah, so it might be our most popular episode.
YouTube sent me an email recommending that I watch our Monument Valley interview, which is surprising for 2 reasons. For one, because it's our podcast, but 2, I actually watched it.
How was it? Did it turn out good? Would you recommend it to our audience?
I highly recommend it. It's much better than The Room.
I'd love to see. Maybe that should be our chart. Like things Steve likes in order. Monument Valley interview. Monument Valley. The Room.
You guys ever watch Top Gear, like the UK Top Gear, and they've got the giant
metal cars
thing. Well, no, it's all the times they're on the track for like all the people that come and guest star on the show.
Oh, I haven't seen this part.
Like a person comes to guest on the show and they do a lap around the track and they write their name and their time on this little
awesome.
strap. And the very fastest time is at the top, the very slowest time at the bottom. They do this little thing where like they bring out the person's time, like it goes here. Oh look, you've just beat Pierce Brosnan's time. Like
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
That's like that, except for things that Steve likes. And then it goes right just below Monument Valley.
That's Top Gear is one of those things I want to see, but it's just like I feel like I'm 15 seasons past the beginning.
You don't have to see any particular episode.
Oh, okay.
There's no continuity. I mean,
it's not a serial series.
Not really. No, just jump in. Just jump in. Any of them.
I've seen the episodes where they have I think they had like a mini. And they were racing around a mall or something like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, things like that.
That's
really cool to check out. And then they were racing the Prius and what the heck was the other one? Like an M3. Yeah. And they were trying to make the case that the M3 actually had better gas mileage.
Yeah, how'd that go?
The M3 won because they drove the Prius so slow it was actually sabotaging the system.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. There's a great, I don't know if it's episode or series of episodes where they dump them in some country. I don't know if it's like Thailand or something.
Okay.
And they give them a certain amount of money, and they don't tell them what the exchange rate is. It kind of sounds like a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you have to buy a vehicle to get yourself from here to this other city, which is like 500 miles away. And they're like, oh, we're gonna go get all these cool cars with all this money. It turns out that it's like $200.
They get a wheel.
They get scooters. They all get scooters.
Oh my god.
Or motorcycles, and they have to drive these like all across. Maybe it's Vietnam. I don't remember. They have to go like basically across the entire country on these motorcycles.
Oh, they're powered scooters. Okay.
Yeah, they're not
okay.
like it's not like
$200.
Yeah,
all right.
No. They have engines, but they're not cars.
Okay. Okay, that makes more sense.
That's a pretty good one. Maybe we should start there.
Yeah, I'll take a few recommendations. Oh, okay. So we have to say, one, I was a guest on Up, Up, Down, Down. Mm-hmm. So you guys should check that out because it's a really great show, which strangely we've never mentioned on our show. But I think we both listened to every episode. I don't know if have you heard an episode yet?
Have we not mentioned them on the show?
I don't think we ever have. I think we mentioned
Alan on the show.
That's true. Well,
co-hosts
Up. In like our After Dark, we mentioned that, and he heard that, and he was like, "Do you want to come on the show?" So I was I think like in February I was on an episode about like game reviews, and then I was just on one where they did an episode on open world games. So we talked about like Infamous and Zelda and all these other things. So if you haven't heard that, we'll put in the show notes, but you should check that out. And it's a really cool show. I mean, we both watch it.
Yeah. I definitely want to watch it. I just on the list.
I shouldn't say watch it. It is an audio podcast, so yeah, listen to it. It's an easy thing to like pop in as you work or whatever. So yeah. And so we heard back from the creator of Chew. So
yes.
I sent it. So we recorded
John
Layman. So we recorded the episode and we had kind of mixed reviews. So I was just like, I don't know. I'll send it to him, see what he thinks. And it was.
Oh, you sent it to him. He didn't find it.
No. I sent it to him. Yeah, on Twitter I sent it to him, and he. Based on his feedback, he watched the whole episode, and he basically suggested that if we read a little bit further into the series, I think a lot of our concerns, he was saying, would be addressed. So, and it's interesting because he actually was writing for Batman Eternal, which is another, a DC thing, and stopped working on that so that he could continue on Chew. And it's some astronomical number, like 27 or something like that they're in right now. Because you mentioned that they zoomed ahead.
Yeah, they jump ahead, but then so they're not actually really at 27 or whatever. They're really at like 13 or something.
Yeah.
But they flashed forward.
So number 27 is actually the 14th that's been published, but it's
it's something like that. It's something like that. Yeah.
I feel like we talked about this on another.
We
episode.
did, yeah. But there's also some, and I need to look more at this, but there's some other sort of like side story called Chew Omnivore, which I think is the same characters but a slightly different sort of part of the world. So they switch back and forth between those two.
Is this one of those things where like Marvel has like 16 different versions of the universe, and you kind of like keep track of like which universe?
Yeah, well, or
is that DC that does that? I can't.
I think it's Marvel. Yeah,
do they all do it? Are there alternate Archies as well?
Oh my God! Right. we never haven't mentioned that. So we had the episode, I think it was Stripped, right, where we were talking about because we were talking about
about Archie.
Yeah, we were talking about all the different types of comics. We were saying there's basically Batman, Superman, there's Archie, and there's like Garfield, right? And then we were just joking. We're like, haha, how funny would it be if there was like actually a good Archie?
How funny would it be? It's like the Donald Duck thing when they released in Germany. They have like this whole deep philosophy. How funny would it be if we opened it and it was like, oh my God, this is life-changing. We should review an Archie comic. Yeah.
The odds are pretty low.
Well, yes, the odds are pretty low, but...
And then there's this thing, incredibly...
Good Archie.
Well, no. It's actually really well reviewed. So it's Afterlife with Archie. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud.
Keep going.
It's actually like a hardcore horror comic with the characters from Archie, and it's actually consistent in the Archie universe, other than the fact that they're undead. But
is this canon?
Apparently, well, it is published by the Archie company, so it's not like it's some sort of off-brand thing. Like it's legitimately like they put it out. Mm-hmm. It is very well reviewed. It's apparently very good. The only problem is it's extremely sadistic in the storyline. Like there's characters that die in very unpleasant ways and stuff like that. But it's legitimately like well written, and people say like I would never read an Archie comic whatsoever. I read this and it was awesome. Incredibly, I mean, I can't. It is maybe the least likely thing that I've ever said on the show that turned out to be true. It was ridiculous. Do you guys remember talking about that? We were saying like, oh yeah, how funny would it be? And it's like, what the heck?
It turns out.
And actually, there's another not as quite as crazy, but there's another series in the Archie universe where it's basically like they explore, if Archie went married Veronica versus Betty. Those are the two names, right? I think.
Sounds legit.
The blonde and the brunette. So it's like this weird like it's almost like a science fiction thing where they explore what if he did this in parallel universe if he went and did the other thing. But this crazy thing is that there's one character, this is insane, but there's one character in the universe who actually skips between the different universes and is like,
so
he crosses over. No. He appears in all the different comics and like
including like the original.
He goes way back to like the 50s stuff. In current comic books, like the character will travel back to the original versions of Archie and then also the current time and skip between the different alternate universes. And he's like collecting data. Something's going to happen. I know it's insane. It's insane.
Wait, so is this like the longest setup ever? Like, did they have
it might be like
in the
50 years. Yeah, no, there's something.
That's playing the long game.
It's pretty nuts. I mean, I'm tempted to say, we kind of talked about reviewing Archie Afterlife with Archie. Maybe we have to now because we talked about it so much. But I just, I saw that it was like, it's really like hardcore horror. So, if you guys are into it, maybe we should check it out just because, I don't know.
Yeah.
We can
I have to read a sample first.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, right. I'm just so fascinated by it.
Yeah. It is intriguing.
What do you guess? I'm guessing they're not going to put that at the grocery stand. Like,
right there in the supermarket.
Yeah. Us Magazine.
Yeah. How do we get on Archie?
What's that?
How do we get talking about Archie? Oh, about
Chew.
So Chew.
Chew, yeah.
But am I crazy about like the more like superhero comics where there's like bajillion timelines and different universes?
There is, yeah.
Stuff? Well, which exact like it's like watching the time travel movie Primer, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Where there's like a bajillion timelines.
Yeah.
Like, which exact Batman am I reading right now?
Yeah. They actually, I can't remember the exact number, but they have like there's like secret code for the proper like Marvel mainline universe. Okay. It's like 291 or something like that. I'll have to look it up. Okay. But it's like the one that all the cool people know is like the one. Yeah, and I think they occasionally have to go back and check in with that just to like reground themselves. Like this is actually what happened versus all these other possibilities.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's fascinating because I think it's like they're so cheap to produce compared to movies.
Yeah.
And you don't get all this crazy like you can't have somebody just walk in the middle of a comic book and be like what's going on with all these different characters and everything as like a mainstream reader, right? But if they have these really hardcore fans, then they can just mess with things and say, okay, well, there's some stuff going on here, but don't worry about that. And they're so into it that they don't mind.
Yeah.
And you don't need like $4 billion to launch a movie around it. So they have plenty of freedom. I don't know. They just seem to explore these things. It's kind of cool because you get different takes on characters. Like is
the original storyline, has it continued nonstop since the beginning?
That's a great question. I don't know. And this actually kind of came up when we were talking about X-Men as well, because they kind of did the same thing with the more recent ones where they kind of went back in the past and brought the characters forward. But even like to the degree that the Spider-Man movies, they had the Sam Raimi movies, and when they ended that trilogy, they picked up this new take on the universe, which was actually Brian Michael Bendis, I think was the writer, with like Gwen Stacy as the, rather than, I forget what the other girl's name was, the other character's name
in the
original set. It was the redhead.
Yeah.
Kirsten Dunst played her, and Mary Jane. Yeah. So then there was a new take on it, like 10 years ago with Gwen Stacy, and then the movie actually picked up that alternate timeline. So sometimes they sort of bleed over, which I actually think ends up being a more interesting story. But
one of the many reasons why comics are not approachable by mere mortals.
Yeah, no, seriously,
it keeps people away from comics.
Yeah, actually, on the cover of the new X-Men thing, like literally the top line of the endorsement quote is like, "This is where to start reading the X-Men comics," because it's such a common question.
Actually, that's a great idea.
It is.
That's really.
But you can imagine like picking up a movie that's like Jurassic Park 1, and it's like, "This is where to start watching the Jurassic Park movies."
Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be?
Dark Tower, you don't get that.
No, not at all.
And now we've just thrown Dark Tower into the episode notes.
Mark it off on your bingo cards now. Need a bell.
I feel like at some point we stopped even listing Dark Tower in the show notes.
Just listen to the homepage.
We mentioned Dark Tower in that episode.
I'm sure Google has categorized this as a Dark Tower fan site. They linked to it on every page.
All right. Till next time.
And then I need a gap in this next part.
Yeah, so you say this week on Low Earth Orbit. You say the introductions. Welcome to Low Earth Orbit. Introductions. Pause. This week on Low Earth Orbit.
Welcome to Low Earth Orbit, episode 45. Wait, introductions?
Pause after the introductions.
Pause after the introductions, okay. Welcome to Low Earth Orbit, episode 45. I'm Steve Marmon.
I'm Justin Voss.
I'm Scott Stevenson.
Wait, I probably should point this. This is like on the video, isn't it?
No, this part's not.
No. That's the whole point. Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah,
that's why you just have the little those little pedals. All right, one more time.
Okay.
Welcome to Low Earth Orbit. I'm Steve Marmon. No,
nope.
Sorry. No.
No, you are not.
Are there alternate Archies as well?
Oh my God!
Right.